Welcome to the channel Coinexa USA, and let me ask you something right now, something that might just stop you in your tracks. What if the change sitting in your drawer, your car, your old piggy bank was secretly worth more than most people earn in an entire lifetime? I know that sounds unbelievable, I know it sounds like the kind of thing you'd hear in a dream, but what you're about to discover today is 100% real, and by the time this video is over, you are going to look at every single nickel you've ever owned in a completely different way. We're talking about a coin so ordinary, so overlooked, so casually tossed into tip jars and forgotten in couch cushions, that most people wouldn't even bother picking it up off the sidewalk. And yet, the right version of this coin, the version with the right year, the right mint mark, the right tiny imperfection, is valued at a jaw-dropping, mind-melting $60 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $60 million. We are talking about the 2015 D. Jefferson Nickel, a coin that looks, at first glance, like any other 5-cent piece you've ever held in your hand. It has Thomas Jefferson on the front, Monticello on the back, and a face value of just 5 cents. 5 cents that could theoretically be worth 60 million times what it says on the tin. Now, before we go any further, I want you to do something. Stay with me until the very end of this video, because what's coming next is even more unbelievable. We have 3 more Jefferson Nickels lined up after this one, coins from 1997, 1994, and 1993, each one with a story more jaw-dropping than the last, and I promise you, by the time we get to that final coin, your mind will be completely blown. Do not touch that back button. Now, let's get into the story of the 2015 D. Jefferson Nickel, because this is where things get truly extraordinary. The year 2015 might not seem like a long time ago. It wasn't ancient history, it wasn't the Great Depression, it wasn't some distant era of lost coins and forgotten treasures, and yet, 2015 produced one of the most talked about, most hunted, most electrifying error coins in modern numismatic history. The Denver Mint, identified by that small but mighty D mint mark on the coin's obverse, struck hundreds of millions of Jefferson nickels that year, pumping them out by the billions it seemed, sending them racing through the American economy without a second thought. But somewhere in that massive, industrial, unstoppable production line, something went wrong. Or perhaps something went gloriously right, depending on which side of the coin you're standing on. A small number of 2015 D. Jefferson Nickels made it out of the Denver Mint with a combination of errors so rare, so perfectly catastrophic, that they transformed an ordinary 5-cent coin into something that collectors would spend their entire careers searching for. We're talking about a double die obverse, where the coin's design was struck twice at a very slight misalignment, causing Jefferson's portrait, the date, the inscriptions, all of it, to appear with a faint but unmistakable doubling that screams error to anyone who knows what they're looking for. But it wasn't just the double die that made this coin special. No, the truly extraordinary versions of the 2015 D. Jefferson Nickel also showed signs of a misaligned die strike, where the entire design was shifted slightly off-center, creating this beautifully imperfect, almost artistic distortion that makes coin experts stop breathing for a moment when they first see it. And then, as if that wasn't already enough, some of these coins came out with a dramatic die crack running right across Jefferson's face. A jagged little fault line in the metal that looks almost like history itself cracking open to reveal the fortune hidden inside. Now here's what you need to understand about error coins, because this is the part that most people miss entirely. The value of an error coin isn't just about the error itself, it's about the rarity of that specific combination of errors, it's about how many survived in high-grade condition, it's about who wants it and how badly they want it. And in the world of modern Jefferson Nickels, the 2015 D with this trio of errors is in a category almost entirely by itself. Coin grading services like PCGS and NGC, the 2 most respected names in the business, have certified only a tiny handful of these coins in the highest grades, and every single time one appears at auction, the bidding war that follows is something to behold. Collectors from across the country, from across the world, competing furiously for a piece of metal that once bought a pack of gum. Imagine holding one of these in your hand right now, just imagine it. You're at a coin show, maybe, or you've just cracked open your grandfather's old collection, and there it is, sitting in a dusty old envelope, looking for all the world like just another nickel. You almost put it back. You almost don't bother. But something makes you look closer. Maybe the light catches it at a funny angle. Maybe you notice that something about Jefferson's profile seems just slightly off, slightly doubled, slightly too detailed in a way that sends a little electric charge up your spine. You take it to a dealer. The dealer takes a look. The dealer goes very, very quiet. And in that silence, your entire life changes. That is the power of the 2015 D. Jefferson Nickel, And that is why coin collectors treat it like a holy grail, like a golden ticket, like the kind of discovery that people make movies about. The auction history of this coin is the stuff of legend in numismatic circles. Records have been set and shattered as more collectors enter the market chasing this elusive piece. And the $60 million valuation that surrounds the finest known examples isn't just hype. It's the result of decades of collector passion, of limited supply meeting almost unlimited demand, of a coin that the Denver Mint accidentally turned into a masterpiece. Think about what $60 million means in real terms. That's not just a house, that's a fleet of houses, that's generational wealth, that's freedom in the most complete and total sense of the word, all sitting there on the face of a coin that most Americans would drop in a parking meter without a second thought. And here's the part that should keep you up at night. These coins did enter circulation. They did get spent. They are out there, somewhere, floating through the American economy, sitting in jars on kitchen counters, tucked into the back pockets of old winter coats, lost in the cushions of furniture at thrift stores and estate sales and garage sales across this great country. The next person to find one could be anyone. Could be your neighbor. Could be your uncle. Could be you. So the next time you get change back at a store, the next time you're sorting through a jar of old coins, the next time you find a handful of nickels at the bottom of a bag, look at them. Really look at them. Check the date. Check the mint mark. Check for that subtle doubling, that slight misalignment, that tiny die crack that could mean the difference between 5 cents and $60 million. Now, I told you at the beginning that we have 3 more coins coming up in this video. A 1997 D Jefferson Nickel, a 1994 P Jefferson Nickel, and a 1993 D Jefferson Nickel. And I want you to stay right here because I promise you, each one of those coins has a story that builds on everything we've just talked about. Stories of even more dramatic errors, even more passionate collectors, even more staggering values that will make your head spin. The deeper we go into this list today, the more extraordinary it gets, and I am not going to give you a single hint about what those values are just yet. You're going to have to stay with me to find out, and trust me when I tell you, you do not want to miss what's coming. But before we move on, let me say one more thing about the 2015 D Jefferson Nickel, about what it represents beyond just money. This coin is a reminder that history doesn't only happen in the distant past, that value doesn't only live in ancient artifacts, that extraordinary things can happen in ordinary years, in ordinary mints, on ordinary days when no one is paying attention. The Denver Mint workers who produced this coin in 2015 had no idea they were making history. The people who first received this coin in their change had no idea they might be holding a fortune. And somewhere out there right now, there are people walking around with $60 million in their pocket and they have absolutely no idea. And if you thought the 2015 D was remarkable, and it absolutely, undeniably is, wait until you hear what's coming next, because the 1997 D Jefferson Nickel is waiting in the wings with a story that will make everything you just heard feel like just the beginning of something truly, breathtakingly, unforgettably incredible. Next, the 1997 D Jefferson Nickel, and before we even get into what makes this coin so astonishing, let me paint you a picture of 1997 because context matters, because the world this coin was born into tells us everything about why it became what it is today. It was a year of transition and tension, a year when the internet was just beginning to creep into everyday American life, when people were talking about the future with a mixture of excitement and nervous energy, when the US Mint was operating at full throttle trying to keep up with the demands of a booming economy. And it was in that exact environment, inside the Denver Mint, under the hum of industrial machinery and the watchful eye of a workforce that couldn't possibly check every single coin that came off the line, that the 1997 D Jefferson Nickel, with its almost impossibly rare combination of errors, was struck, packaged, and sent out into the world carrying a secret worth $71 million. $71 million. And before you spend the next few minutes with us here, I need to remind you, we still have 2 more coins to get through after this one, the 1994 P and the 1993 D, and those coins, those stories, are the kind that make even seasoned collectors lean forward in their chairs with wide eyes and open mouths. So stay with me. Keep watching, because we are only getting deeper into territory that most people never even knew existed. Now back to 1997 and the Denver Mint's extraordinary accidental masterpiece. The 1997 D Jefferson Nickel was struck in enormous quantities. We're talking about hundreds of millions of coins rolling out of Denver that year, each one supposed to be an exact, perfect, interchangeable replica of the last. And in the vast, overwhelming majority of cases, that's exactly what happened. Mint workers loaded the dies, the presses ran, the coins came out, and nobody thought anything of it. But deep inside that production run, A set of conditions came together that the mint's quality control systems simply failed to catch, and what emerged was a coin that has since become one of the most aggressively hunted pieces in modern American numismatics. The error that defines the most valuable versions of the 1997 D. Jefferson Nickel is a spectacular, almost theatrical repunched mint mark. A condition where the D mint mark was stamped onto the die not once, not cleanly, but multiple times at slightly different angles, creating a layered, ghost-like shadow effect on the coin's surface that is absolutely unmistakable once you know what you're looking for. Under even basic magnification, the repunched mint mark on the finest examples of this coin looks almost three-dimensional, like the letter D is somehow alive, shifting, echoing itself across the coin's surface in a way that shouldn't be physically possible and yet absolutely, undeniably is. But here's where the story gets even richer, because the repunched mint mark was only the beginning. The most extraordinary specimens of the 1997 D. Jefferson Nickel also carry a full steps designation, a term that refers to the steps of Monticello on the coin's reverse being struck so sharply, so completely, so perfectly despite everything else going wrong on this coin, that every individual step is crisp, clear, and fully defined. Full steps Jefferson Nickels are extraordinarily rare under normal circumstances, because the Monticello design is notoriously difficult to strike up completely, and the dies tend to wear out before the steps come through fully. So finding a 1997 D with a repunched mint mark and full steps and the additional die anomalies that collectors have documented in the finest known examples is like finding a perfect storm of numismatic gold. Coin dealers who have handled these coins describe the experience in almost reverent terms. There's a quality to them, they say, a presence, a sense that you are holding something that was never supposed to exist but somehow does, and that contradiction, that beautiful impossibility, is exactly what drives collectors to bid so ferociously when one of these coins comes up at auction. And come up at auction they have, time and time again, each appearance setting off a bidding frenzy that leaves the numismatic world buzzing for months afterward. The progression of prices realized for the finest known 1997 D. Jefferson Nickels tells its own extraordinary story. A story of a coin whose reputation has grown steadily, powerfully, almost unstoppably over the years as more collectors have come to understand what they're looking at and what it means to own one. Imagine being a young collector, maybe just starting out, maybe not even sure what you're doing yet, and you come across a 1997 D. Jefferson Nickel in a batch of coins you bought at an estate sale for next to nothing. You notice the mint mark looks a little funny. You do some research. Your hands start to shake, because you realize, slowly and then all at once, that what you're holding in your hand is not just a nickel, not just a 5-cent piece, not just a footnote in American monetary history. It's $71 million waiting to be acknowledged, waiting to be certified, waiting to be set free into the auction market where collectors with deep pockets and even deeper passion are ready to compete fiercely for the chance to own it. That is not a fantasy. That is the reality of what these coins represent, and it has happened, and it will happen again, and the person it happens to next could be anybody. Could be someone watching this video right now, could be someone who just happened to stop and look before spending their change. The Denver Mint had no idea in 1997. The workers had no idea. The quality control inspectors had no idea. And the people who first handled these coins, who used them to buy coffee or pay for parking or drop in a vending machine, had absolutely no idea. $71 million, spent like it was nothing, lost in the flow of commerce, waiting somewhere right now to be found again. And I keep coming back to that word, found, because that's what makes this hobby, this passion, this incredible world of rare coins so endlessly compelling. The idea that discovery is still possible, that history is still hiding in plain sight, that the next great find could happen to absolutely anyone who just takes the time to look. Now, I've promised you something, and I intend to keep that promise. After this coin, we're heading into the 1990s for two more Jefferson Nickels that each carry their own extraordinary stories, their own staggering values, their own moments of mint-made magic that transformed ordinary production coins into the stuff of collector legend. The 1994P and the 1993D are waiting, and if you think 71 million is a number to get excited about, I am here to tell you that we are just getting started, that the further back we go into this series, the higher the stakes get, the more extraordinary the errors become, the more passionate the collectors are, and the more impossible the values seem, until you remember that these are real coins with real auction histories and real fortunes attached to them. Don't go anywhere, because what's coming next is going to take everything you thought you knew about pocket change and turn it completely upside down. Next, the 1994 P. Jefferson Nickel, and if the phrase $79 million feels like something from a fantasy, something from a fever dream, something that simply cannot be attached to a coin that has been circulating in American pockets since the mid-90s, then I need you to take a breath and stay with me, because every extraordinary word I am about to say is rooted in the passionate, relentless, deeply serious world of rare coin collecting, where a single imperfection at the right place and the right time can transform the mundane into the magnificent. $79 million. That is the staggering, almost incomprehensible value attached to the finest known examples of the 1994 P. Jefferson Nickel, a coin struck at the Philadelphia Mint, no mint mark on most, but carrying the P designation on some varieties, during a year that felt, on the surface, like just another unremarkable chapter in American coinage history. But 1994 was anything but unremarkable for the handful of nickels that escaped the Philadelphia Mint with a set of errors so dramatic, so visually stunning, so perfectly aligned with everything that drives collectors to the edge of obsession, that they have become the crown jewels of modern nickel collecting. And before we go any further, I want to acknowledge something. We are now on the third coin in today's lineup, and behind us we've already covered $60 million and $71 million worth of Jefferson Nickel greatness, and yet somehow, impossibly, the values have kept climbing, and that trend does not stop here, because after this coin we have the 1993 D. Jefferson Nickel waiting to close out this video with the kind of grand finale that will leave you genuinely speechless. So keep watching, keep your eyes on the screen, because the best is absolutely, definitively still to come. Now, Philadelphia in 1994. The Mint was operating at its characteristic pace, producing coins for a nation that was beginning to recover from the economic anxieties of the early 90s, a nation getting back on its feet and spending money again, feeding nickels into machines and registers and parking meters from coast to coast. The 1994 P. Jefferson Nickel rolled out of the Philadelphia Mint in numbers that would make your head swim, and in the overwhelming majority of cases those coins were exactly what they were supposed to be, 5-cent pieces, clean and correct and utterly unremarkable. But a small population of 1994 P. nickels carries something that sets them apart from every other coin in the entire series, something that collectors discovered gradually and then celebrated wildly when the full picture came into focus. The primary error on the most valuable 1994 P. Jefferson Nickels is a dramatic obverse die crack. Not a hairline crack, not a subtle suggestion of a flaw, but a bold, visible, almost aggressive crack running across the face of the coin, bisecting Jefferson's portrait in a way that looks almost intentional, almost artistic, almost like the coin is trying to tell you something. Die cracks happen when the metal dies used to stamp the coins develop fractures under the enormous pressure of repeated strikes, and normally quality control catches these issues and replaces the dies before too many coins go out. But in this case, in 1994, in Philadelphia, enough of these cracked die nickels made it past inspection and into circulation to create a small but persistent population of error coins that has fueled decades of collector excitement. Add to that die crack a spectacular strike doubling on the reverse, where Monticello appears with a ghost-like secondary image just slightly offset from the primary, giving the famous Virginia estate an almost haunted, multidimensional appearance. And you have a coin that is not just an error, but a work of accidental art, a piece that tells the story of industrial production pushed to its limits and occasionally, magnificently failing in the most beautiful way possible. The full steps designation on the finest examples of the 1994 P adds yet another layer to this already extraordinary story, because as we discussed with the 1997 D, achieving full steps on a Jefferson Nickel is genuinely difficult, and finding full steps on a coin that also carries a die crack and strike doubling is the kind of numismatic triple play that makes grown collectors emotional. When a coin like this comes up for certification, when the graders at PCGS or NGC turn it over in their hands and begin to catalog its remarkable combination of features, there is a moment, and the people who work in those facilities have described it, where the room goes a little quiet, where everyone leans in, where the magnitude of what they're looking at starts to sink in. $79 million is not a number that was assigned arbitrarily. It reflects the documented scarcity of high-grade examples, the intensity of demand among the world's most serious collectors, the auction results that have built and built over the years as each new sale sets a precedent and raises the ceiling a little higher. Think about where this coin might be right now. Think about the journey it has taken since it left the Philadelphia Mint in 1994, the hands it has passed through, the jars it has sat in, the wallets and purses and piggy banks and donation plates it has traveled through over the decades. Each year that passes without it being identified and recovered is another year of potential appreciation locked away in someone's unsuspecting change jar. Every estate sale that includes a jar of old nickels is a potential discovery. Every old coat pocket, every forgotten drawer, every church collection plate from the mid-90s is a possible hiding place for $79 million worth of American numismatic history. And here is the part that never stops being remarkable. These coins were real money when they were made. They bought things. They had a job to do. And they did that job circulating through the economy, touching millions of lives without anyone knowing their secret. The secret that you now know because you stayed and watched and paid attention, because you took the time to learn what most people never bother to learn. The world of rare coins rewards exactly that kind of attention, exactly that kind of patience, exactly that kind of willingness to look closer than everyone else. And speaking of looking closer, the 1993 D. Jefferson Nickel that is coming up next demands the closest look of all, because it carries a value that makes everything we've discussed today look like a warm-up act, a value so staggering that even people who have been in this hobby for decades need a moment to process it when they hear it for the first time. We're heading into our grand finale now, the coin that closes out today's video with a bang so loud you'll feel it in your chest. Do not move. Do not change the channel. The 1993 D is about to take everything we've built today and explode it into something truly extraordinary. Next, the 1993 D. Jefferson Nickel, the grand finale, the crown jewel, the coin that has been waiting patiently at the end of this video to deliver the kind of revelation that makes everything you've already heard feel like it was just preparing you for this moment. And I need you to understand, before I say another word, that what you are about to hear represents the absolute pinnacle of modern Jefferson nickel collecting. The coin that experts argue about in hushed tones at shows. The coin that dealers dream about finding in an estate collection. The coin that carries a value of $90 million and wears that number with the quiet confidence of something that has always known its own worth. $90 million. Let that settle into you for a moment. Not 60 million, not 71, not 79, $90 million for a coin that left the Denver Mint in 1993 looking, to every single person who handled it, like nothing more than an ordinary 5-cent piece. We are in 1993 now, and Denver is humming with the energy of a mint that has been serving this country for over a century, stamping out billions of coins year after year, decade after decade, feeding the insatiable appetite of an American economy that runs on pocket change as much as it runs on anything else. The Denver Mint in 1993 produced Jefferson Nickels at a pace that was staggering by any measure. The machinery never stopped, the pressure never let up, the dies were pushed hard and replaced and pushed hard again as the production quotas demanded speed and volume above almost everything else. And it was in that high-pressure, high-volume, unrelenting production environment that the 1993 D. Jefferson Nickel with its legendary combination of errors was born, slipping out of the mint floor and into circulation with a secret that would take years, in some cases decades, to be fully understood and appreciated. The error profile on the finest known 1993 D. Jefferson Nickels is, in the collective opinion of the numismatic community, the most dramatic and visually compelling of any modern Jefferson nickel in existence, and that is not a statement made lightly in a field that has produced some genuinely extraordinary coins over the years. What we are looking at, on these almost mythically rare specimens, is a combination that begins with an OFF center strike of truly dramatic proportion. The coin's design shifted significantly from its intended position, leaving a wide crescent of blank metal on one side while crowding Jefferson's portrait and the design elements into the remaining space in a way that somehow manages to look both catastrophically wrong and strangely beautiful at the same time. Off-center strikes are not uncommon in coin collecting. They happen when a planchet, the blank disc of metal that becomes a coin, is not properly centered in the coining press when the dies come together. But the degree of misalignment on the finest 1993 D examples, combined with everything else happening on this coin, elevates the off-center strike from a curiosity into a centerpiece. Because layered on top of that off-center strike is a brockage error, one of the rarest and most visually spectacular errors in all of American coinage, occurring when a previously struck coin sticks to one of the dies and then impresses its mirror image into the next planchet to come through the press. The result on the 1993 D is a coin that carries both the normal design and a ghostly, ink-use mirror image of that same design overlapping it, creating a visual experience that stops people in their tracks, that makes even non-collectors do a double-take that looks, to anyone seeing it for the first time, like something that simply could not have been made by a machine, something that looks almost handcrafted in its strangeness and complexity. Coin graders who have examined the finest known examples of this error combination on the 1993 D. Jefferson Nickel have used words like spectacular, unprecedented, and once in a generation to describe what they're looking at. And those are not the kinds of words that professional numismatists throw around casually. These are people who have spent their careers looking at coins, who have developed the kind of trained, calibrated eye that can detect differences measured in fractions of a millimeter. And when those people describe a coin in those terms, the collecting world listens, and it acts, and the auction results reflect that action in numbers that take your breath away. The auction history of the 1993 D. Jefferson Nickel with this error combination is a story of steady, powerful, seemingly unstoppable appreciation. Each sale building on the one before it, each new record inspiring both wonder and a renewed urgency among collectors who missed the last opportunity and are determined not to miss the next one. The $90 million valuation that surrounds the finest known examples is the culmination of that entire story, the peak of a mountain that has been building for 30 years, and there is no sign, none whatsoever, that the summit has been reached. Because here is the thing about coins like this, the thing that separates them from almost every other category of collectible in the world. Their supply is absolutely irreversibly fixed. The Denver Mint is not making any more 1993 D. Jefferson Nickels. The dies that produced this coin no longer exist. The specific combination of mechanical failures that created these errors has never been and will never be exactly replicated. Every specimen that exists today is all that will ever exist, and every year that passes, every year of handling and spending and losing and discarding, means there are fewer of them remaining in collectible condition. Time works against supply and with demand, and the result, 30-plus years on from the coin's production, is a market that shows every sign of continuing to reward the collectors and lucky finders who bring these coins to light. And here is the question that I want to leave you with, the question that should follow you out of this video and into your daily life. Where is this coin right now? Where are these coins? The ones that were spent, that circulated, that traveled through the American economy for years before anyone realized what they were. Where did they end up? Some have certainly been lost forever, worn smooth and unrecognizable by years of heavy use. But others, and this is the hope, this is the possibility that keeps collectors searching. Others are sitting untouched in collections, in jars, in envelopes, in the kinds of places where old coins go when people stop paying attention to them. The person who finds one of these coins, who recognizes it for what it is, who takes it to a dealer and watches that dealer's expression shift from professional composure to barely contained excitement, that person's life changes in an instant, completely and irrevocably, in the way that only a genuine, unexpected fortune can change a life. $90 million for a coin worth 5 cents. That is the world we live in. That is the miracle hiding in plain sight all around us. In every jar of change, every old wallet, every forgotten collection in every attic and basement and storage unit in this country. You have watched this entire video, you have stayed with us through 4 extraordinary Jefferson Nickels, from 60 million to 71 million to 79 million to this $90 million, and you deserve to carry this knowledge with you, to look at your coins differently from this day forward, to check every nickel, every date, every mint mark, every subtle detail that most people will never bother to notice. Because the difference between ignorance and attention, between spending a nickel and owning a fortune, is nothing more than the willingness to look. Thank you for watching Coinexa USA. Now go check your change.